This chapter contains abuse, trauma, and alcoholism.
The void resonates. Space seizures and warps the bounds of relevance erode away into nothing but the wishful nostalgia of times past. There is a hole in the middle of the universe, and it is hungry. But the denizens of this particular iteration of Earthsea don't know it. All of this is business as fucking usual for the planet plagued by war and continuous inclement ghost weather, and the general malice of absolutely severed from canon. They spend their days absorbed in the petty, pointless pursuits of having a job and raising families and falling in love. In the midst of this, a middle-aged man kneels in a garden. It isn't his garden, and he already has a name, but we will begin our story with him regardless. Plants, Jake has decided, are really the best sort of chums. They are quiet, friendly, and easy to please. All they need is a little water, fresh earth, and they are perfectly happy to lie there in the sun all day. And they don't make increasingly inhumane arms deals and appear on talk shows, expound dangers of interspecies marriage. They have never, as far as Jake knows, fucked a clown. Goddamn slow fight. God. Here you go. John has been an incredible pal, opening up his home to Jake and his son on such short notice, and even offering them a pair of pants, as well as a shirt that he has neglected to put on so far. John's house doesn't have air conditioning. It's a charming little cottage, but it sure does God damn it. I keep thinking it says it sure does serve as an ace. But it sure could sure as aces use some airing out and dusting and just general upkeep. The old place really has gone to seed since John's been away. Chick shudders to think what sort of state his own mansion is in. Jane will probably have it demolished now, he imagines. It, like the rest of his assets, is in her name, and she seen to that as soon as they were married. Back at Ches Crocker, there had been a legion of hired help to take care of the ins and outs of running a household. Jane's far too busy to bother with such things, and Jake, well, he just never bothered. Why should he, when there were other people to take care of it for him? But the decades of easy living don't change the fact that he spent the first 16 years of his life in deep, lush bush of the South Pacific jungle. There certainly had been no one to cook and clean and bring down the big game then, besides his grandma, but she had him shooting as soon as he could hold a pistol. No pistols are shot today, but Jake is determined to have this place in tip-top shape by the time John gets back from wherever he is. He hasn't seen much of Tavros today either, but that's not unusual. He probably is out with his cosmesis, the one he thinks Jake doesn't know about. He washes the floors, windows, cleans the toilet at 3, chases a family squirrels out of the attic. They chitter angrily at him, but he doesn't back down. As the day wears on, the shadows grow longer. Jake washes the dirt out from under his fingernails, and his eyes fall on a bottle still sitting on the counter. John had opened it. They'd barely touched the stuff. Jake had promised him and Tabby that he'd try up his act at, well, one thing at a time. The jungle air is heavy, humid, and familiar. 20 years, thick drag into his lungs settled on him with nostalgia, reassuring in its discomfort. The pistol is strapped to his leg, and all around him the shadows move in slow, threatening sweeps. He is in danger, in the jungle, than he'd ever beaten. Goddamn. He is deeper in the jungle than he'd ever ventured in his walking hours. There were places on his island that not even his granddad would tread, and she'd been the bravest person he'd known. Here there be monsters. Jake didn't recognize anything. The jungle of his dreams is wild and things move in the dense undergrowth. He slaps a mosquito in his neck. Sweat drips into his eyes. He drops a hand into his gun. the tension prickling hot and tight at the base of his neck. A sudden wind thrashes at the canopy. There are pine needles in his mouth. There aren't any pine needles in the jungle. The only warning Jake gets is a resonant growl that seems to come from every direction at once. Before the monster is on him, lithe creature of darkness, fury, with more legs than anything mammalian has a right to. He hits the ground and hard enough to drive the breath out of him, but he doesn't have time to catch it. He has to run. He knows it. In the deep, prophetic way of dreams, that he is no match for this monster. It is right behind him, its hot, damp breath whiffling at his hair. What does it feel like to be eaten? He's about to find out.
Who, Dirk?
You're welcome.
But you're dead.
Nah.
Yes, I know. Yes, you are. I know that much. I saw your body. I carried your chopping chocolate of all those stupid fucking swords.
Nope.
Don't note me, mister. I know a dead Dirk when I see one.
Sure you do, but that wasn't me. Are you really surprised to find out I got a couple of...
So what you're saying is, you aren't my Dirk?
That's a whole another conversation that we really don't have time for, pertaining to exactly who or what your Dirk actually constitutes. Do you mean the Dirk from your timeline? Then yes, Dirk is dead. That Dirk is dead. If you mean the Dirk that you fucked and then ghosted, no, I'm not your Dirk. If you mean the Dirk that you felt closest to, that you really know,
I thought you said we didn't have time for this conversation. I just want to know how you can be here and also in the ground.
you let a guy spend a couple decades at a dominatrix trophy husband, and he forgets all about his old friends. Fucking rough. What about the good times, Jake? What about when I almost made you shit your pants in front of the blue girl
Ah, brain ghost Dirk.
in the ghostly flesh?
Crumbs, bro, where have you been? I could have used someone on my side. You just disappeared one day without even the old toodaloo to mark your passing.
That isn't strictly true. I did disappear, but it wasn't a catastrophic blaze of hope-drenched pathos. I even threw out a couple of one-liners, but you wouldn't even remember.
Because it was a different Dirk?
No, a different Jake. Until recently, there's been a shortage of ambient narrative relevance for Dirks, since one particular motherfucker has been sucking it all up like a thirsty little twink at his first interspecies friend.
Twink? Cripes, this is confusing. It appears that no matter what timeline we're inhabiting, I can count on you to be absolutely impenetrable.
Don't worry about it right now. It's not important. I'm here, and that's what matters.
I suppose I'll just have to trust you.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Consciousness hits Jake like a bottle in the back of the head. In fact, the bottle on the table is tipped over and sluggishly dripping from his mouth. The kitchen reeks of whiskey and his head pounds. At least he's been home alone and no one's seen him slip back into his old habits. Strange days, Jake thinks to himself, and strange dreams. That was a real humdinger of a nightmare. He hadn't dreamed of Dirk in years, and it had felt so real, almost like he could have reached out and touched him.
What's in the flibbergating fuck?
That's not a word.
Dirk!
Sup.
Am I still dreaming? I have to tell you, my dream hangovers are not usually nearly this bad.
I wasn't going to say anything, but holy shit, dude. You really let yourself go. Not to say the sloppy drunk look isn't working for me, because that's absolutely is. But come on, man. You passed out in the puddle of your own drill. What the fuck is that?
My face? What do you mean on my face?
The mustache, Jake. Whose idea was that?
Oh, you don't like it?
I didn't say that. Point is, you're a fucking wreck. And no amount of well-maintained facial hair is going to be enough to hide that.
Now see here, Buster, you don't know the situation. You haven't been here.
We've had this conversation before, Dingus. I'm you, not me, but I only exist because of your powers. The fact that I'm manifesting here in the new universe, outside of a dream, is evidence in itself for how absolutely boned you are. What are you doing? There's a war happening. All of your friends out there are fighting, and you're just here. What? Disgusting? Taking care of a house that nobody actually uses? You've been useless sack of shit for 2 decades. I'm here to kick your ass back into active duty. You spent years feeling sorry for yourself, totally convinced you made the wrong choices and that's all over. And it's easier that way, isn't it? If you're lost cause, you don't have to try to be better. But do you want to be better? Remember all those dreams about adventure, life, love? Remember when Tavros was born? There were so many things in this world you wanted to show him. Beautiful things, Jake. But none of those are going to come from sitting around playing house husband to your ecto son.
Well, what do you propose I do if you're so gosh darn brainy? I'm a cracking good marksman and no slouch when it comes to fisticuffs, but what good am I in a war? I've got some panache, but I can hardly hold my own in the face of an army. And what side am I supposed to be fighting on? For Jane or against her?
Against her, obviously. What the fuck, dude?
But you were the one who wanted her to run in the first place. You wrote her bloody speeches.
Yeah, I did. And every single one of them kicked ass. I wanted Jane to be the democratically elected president, not cake slutting Jeff Bezos, the great rack.
Jeff who?
Don't worry about it. The point is, you have a chance to make a difference. You're in the perfect position to infiltrate her operation.
Like a spy?
Don't try to tell me it doesn't appeal to you. Sexy little suit, slick back hair, a bunch of weapons hidden in likely places. We're both liking this idea more.
Well, I do look fetching in a cummerbund. Wait, no. You tricked me with thoughts of spies and hijinks and two bros against the world. I left Janie. There's no going back now. She isn't exactly the sort to live and let live, you know.
That's horseshit and we both know it. Jane will take you back in a second. She loves
Not to be maudlin, brain ghoster, but Jane hasn't cared about me in a very long time if she ever did at all. I thought you knew everything I do.
There's a part of you that still hopes. You can't help it. You'll never be able to help it. You're going to hope for a brighter future until you're in the ground. Better you than me. Honestly, that sounds exhausting. You're going to do this. We both know it. So why are we even still arguing?
Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Jake, something awful has happened.
It has? You mean more awful than usual?
The opposition has taken Tavros, Jake. They finally shown their true colors. I knew it was only a matter of time before they attacked our family directly.
Oh, haha. Well, the scamps.
It's then that Jake realizes that Jane isn't mad because she'd never realized he was gone. It makes sense. There's been plenty of time when the two of them didn't cross paths for days at a time. The perils of living in a mansion, he supposes. She seems to have forgotten that she'd been cross with him the last time they met, because now that Gamzee is gone, there's no one left to talk to. She recovers from her crying jag with grace, strengthening up, wiping her eyes. Miraculously, her mascara stays unstreaked. Even in moments of vulnerability, she is bulletproof. Jake stands there and listens as she lays out her plans of vengeance. Plans of vengeance, plans of violence. He makes himself smile. He makes himself nod. Honestly, it's not unlike any other night he spent with Janie. Right down to the pit of misery, gnawing at his somewhere below his. All of it is made worse by the occasional wry glance in her eye, the moment of self-deprecation in the slant of her mouth. It reminds him of the Jane he used to know, or the Jane he thought he used to know. Then there's the ghostly presence of his former and best friend. That's different. At first, Jake stands at Jake's elbow, one ghost support staff, before he appears to lose interest in Jane's rant and wanders off across the office, reading spines of the books and spending way too long staring at a strangely phallic piece of installation art, province of which Jake doesn't know, but could hazard a guess if it were a cog piece. Then he settles on Jane's desk, propping his ghost butt up there and just sort of, well, here's a picture of what he does. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. It's more like this. Whatever's the case, it's still distracting, and by the time Jane loses steam and dismisses Jake from her presence, he's thoroughly exhausted from his attempt paying attention to his supervillain wife, not trying to crotch the ghost man from his.
Dirk, I don't think I can do this.
What do you mean? You just did it. You kicked ass back there.
I didn't do anything. I just stood there and felt bad about myself.
According to Kyaku, it worked. Congratulations.
It's only I promised I would never come back here.
Promised? Promised who?
Myself. I decided that enough was right and jolly well enough. You say you know your onions when it comes to me and my troubles, but you just keep asking stupid questions. John and I had quite the gab fest the other night, and I felt hopeful for the first time in years. Like I really could turn over a new leaf, and it all felt like berries from here on out. I really didn't think I'd fall off the wagon so quickly. I don't think being here is good for my emotions, to be honest.
Yeah, probably not. But that's okay. They don't matter.
Oh, I suppose you're right, what with masculinity and all that. A true man's lip remains stiff even in the harshest of circumstances.
Don't know anything about stiff lips, dude. But that's not what I mean. It's not because you're a man.
Oh, right, that.
The road comes first, even at the expense of all your relationships and personal happiness. That's what being a hero.
I guess I never really thought about it like that.
Think what you want about Jane, but at least she realizes that none of you can ever be normal, and she never bothered to try. Can it be really God complex if you're actually God? People like us don't get happy endings.
That's bleak, Dirk. I don't think I could possibly believe that. I know you're born from all the little bits and bobs inside my mind, but wee boy, I don't think I've ever thought something like that, even on my darkest days.
Yeah, that's probably more a Dirk thought than Jake one. I told you, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Is that really how Dirk felt the whole gosh darn time?
It doesn't matter.